I call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Appreciate you coming out. If you would, stand with us while Tommy Garber does the invocation.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for the blessings of life. Thank you for this pretty day you've given us, the beautiful weather we're having. Lord, we thank you for our town. Thank you for all the residents here. Thank you for all those that serve our citizens, the staff, and the board here. Thank you for our country. Pray that you be with all the elected officials. Give us wisdom. Give our president and all his staff wisdom. We do the things that's best for everybody. Thank you for the blessings of our fire and police. We ask your protection on all of them. Lord, I pray for the business we're going to conduct tonight. Give us wisdom. Help us to do the things that are pleasing to you, and most of all, and things that will make our citizens and residents happy. Forgive our sins in Christ's name. Amen.
If you would remain standing while we do. Bobby, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick reminder for everyone, and last call for anyone who would like to speak in the meeting. If you would please sign up at that podium at this time. We're going to take that sheet up in a couple of minutes. So if anyone would like to speak, please sign it now.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented to us, except for dropping number 7.
I'll second that. Second that.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion?
And Mayor, I move that we adopt the minutes for May 6, 2019 regular meeting as presented to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Kenny or Roger, either one more.
Yes, sir. I can speak to number 8. As is customary, at the end of the fiscal year, we always request that town hall be closed to customers to allow staff to go in and close all the books out for the end of the year accounting and whatnot. This year, in years past, we've done it for half a day or 3/4 of a day. We're changing financial accounting software, so there's going to be several extra steps in it this time. So this time, it's our recommendation we close. The staff will be at work, working on all the end of the year maintenance routines, but be closed to the public as far as making payments and things on that day to allow us to get all those housekeeping tasks done.
Mayor, I move that we close City Hall so that they can close out the budget, the yearly fiscal year 2018-2019 on July 1st, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion. Okay. You want to say something?
We skipped number 8.
Yes, thank you. So if we skip number 8, Randy's going to jump in as soon as you guys are done with number 9.
So you made the motion, I made the second. We'll go back to number 8 afterwards.
That is number 8 on my agenda.
Oh, then on mine it's got the receive information, consider approving planning board's recommendation for stormwater management plan for number 8.
We skipped that.
Gentlemen, if you would, just finish up your vote, and then we'll proceed to number 8, which is like on my...
Thank you. Thank you.
Closing town hall.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, before you, actually number 8, this is to approve.
Well, it's not on there. I'm sorry.
Okay. This is to approve the Dollar General for the stormwater, for the recommendation, and Basically, it's very lengthy what I'm going to read here, so please bear with me. This project is seeking the approval to develop the site using the high-density option for the project in the watershed 4 protected area of Coldwater Creek. Development of this part of the watershed limited to 24% built-upon area, but Section 16.13.6D of the zoning ordinance allows the developer to request the approval from the town to construct the site using the high-density option to create up to 70% built-upon area if the construction of a stormwater best management practice BMP structure. Section 16.13.8 in the ordinance discuss the requirements for the development using high-density option. The development standard for this project will be for the developer to treat and control the runoff from the first inch of runoff. The developer is proposing to construct a wet storage basin and a sand filter based on this design requirement by the state current stormwater design manual. If this request is approved, these are the conditions that the board should consider. First, the town and the developer shall enter into a binding operation and maintenance plan per the request of the section 16.13.8, section E. 2, the owner will be responsible for monitoring and performing maintenance as required, including a monthly inspection after every rainfall, an event of 1 inch or larger. The owner shall also have the BMP inspected by the professional engineer on an annual basis. A copy of the professional engineer inspection shall be provided to the town each year, along with any copies of the monthly inspection requested by the town staff. 3, a bond for the construction of the stormwater BMP shall be provided by the developer. The bond amount and release of the bond shall comply with the section 16.13.8F of the ordinance. A bond for the maintenance of the stormwater BMP, correction 4, a bond for the maintenance of stormwater BMP shall be posted. The bond amount shall comply with section 16.13.8, section F of the ordinance, and be a cash or other instrument considered acceptable by the town board. 5, the best management practice BMP shall be designed to comply with the state's current design manual and all applicable state laws and regulations. The ordinance requires the developer to use the wet detention pond. The developer has proposed to use the sand filter that incorporates a wet pond as for bay to collect the sediment and the sand filter system to provide an additional treatment. The design concept complies with the North Carolina DEQ current design manual and is more appropriate design for the stormwater treatment from a small drainage basin. The drawn down rate will be faster than the value listed in the ordinance, but the ordinance has not been updated to reflect the legislative change to BMP design or the current design standards used by North Carolina DEQ. Under the new design requirements, the BMP will be provided the required treatment for the first inch of runoff and provided stormwater detention for the 1-year, 10-year storm event. So with that being in mind, I would need the board to approve, make in consideration of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that I just read off for the stormwater $4 bill.
What changed about, I thought all that had already been approved, they got its dug and all, what changed?
So basically, anytime that there is like a development like this is coming in, our engineer, which is Wes Webb, who is located at Annapolis, has to go through it. There are some things that he found that he didn't like, and so he went back and changed some things per North Carolina DEQ.
Mayor, I move that the town and the developer shall enter into a binding operation and maintenance plan per the requirements of section 16.13.8E, and that the owner will be responsible for monitoring and performing maintenance as required, including a monthly inspection and inspection after every rainfall event of 1 inch or larger. The owner shall also have the BMP inspected by a professional engineer on an annual basis. A copy of the professional engineer inspection shall be provided to the town each year, along with any copies of the monthly inspection requested by the town staff. A bond for the construction of the stormwater BMP shall be provided by the developer. The bond amount and release of the bond shall comply with section 16.13.8F of the ordinance. A bond for the maintenance of the stormwater BMP shall be posted. The bond amount shall comply with section 16.13.8F of the ordinance and be cash or other instruments considered acceptable by the town board. The best management practice, the BMP, shall be designed to comply with the state current design manual and all applicable state laws and regulations.
I second.
I have one question. What's the dollar amount of that bond?
It's 1.25% of the amount of the development.
So we don't have a dollar amount then?
Joe Strickland's here.
I'll let Justin speak on behalf of that.
I think he's saying that it's the development cost, not the BMP.
How does the ordinance read? Is it based on the cost of the project or the cost of the,
Based on the cost of the project.
not the cost of the BMP?
That's correct.
Okay. So the entire project? The entire project, okay. So we're probably looking at probably $1.2 million.
So 1.25% of $1.2 million.
I just want to make sure it was enough of a penalty to make them do what they're supposed to do, so that's all the questions I got.
Any more discussion? All right, we have a motion, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nadine?
Okay, thank you.
See your number. See here.
So we're supposed to be using the mics.
I think I would.
All right, I think we managed to have two different versions of the agenda here, one that had the thing that Brandon just went over on it, and one that didn't. In some of the packs, I think it was a late addition. The next item on the budget, or on the agenda on mine, is consider calling for a public hearing to discuss the budget. Is that right? If okay, if I can, I'll go ahead and speak to that.
Sure.
So I'll put in each of your box a revised copy of the budget. There were only two changes from the one that I initially put forth. The first is the change that the board specifically requested is regarding the chair capital expense under administration and the general fund. So that line item was cut from $2,500 to $500. That $2,000 was shifted to the general fund contingency line item, which increased it from $250,000 to $252,000. The second change that was made was I had been told, or at least I understood, that the rate increase that we would be seeing on the wholesale, well, I use that term lightly, on what it actually costs us to get the sewer rate, or the sewage treated by the city of Salisbury. My understanding was that it was going to go up 1.2%, and the day after I did the budget presentation, I got an email from the city of Salisbury saying it was going up 1.6%. So it's a $4,000 difference out of $811,000 line item. So I increased that line item from $811,000 to $815,000, and the difference came out of the system maintenance and support line item, which was reduced by the same $4,000 from $152,500 to $148,500. Those are the only two changes in the budget as presented and received.
How many days do we have to wait before we can set a date?
The earliest that I would recommend doing is the 17th.
Of the latest. You said the earliest, you mean that, or the latest?
The earliest.
The earliest we could do it is 17th. You have to give, I think, a 2 week notice.
Can we do it next week, the week of the 10th?
No, sir. There's a statutory requirement that we have to provide sufficient notice.
Okay.
About the 17th, just get it done on Monday.
I'm
I'm gonna be out of town.
We can do it the following week. It just legally, it has to be done before the end of the month.
And June 30th is the last day.
Yes, I mean, we could do it the 24th if y'all wanted to stick with the Monday.
I can do the 24th.
24th is fine.
All right, would we do that like the other budget meetings at 5:30?
5:30.
So if that's the pleasure of the board, we need a motion and the location. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I move we have a budget meeting on June the 24th at 5:30 p.m. at City Hall.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
Just for purposes of clarification, that's to hold a public hearing to adopt the budget.
To discuss the budget, proposed budget.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Department heads. Good night.
Just for Parks and Recs, just want to remind everybody the pool season is now open. And also, we had another cruise in Friday. Unfortunately, we had another weather event. The next one is scheduled for June the 28th. Hopefully, we'll have a actual event without weather interruption. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you, sir.
The state reached out to us, North Carolina DOT, and they were wanting some suggestions from the board of what roads you guys would like to see paved that are state maintained roads within the 2020. So if you guys sometime get up with me and get the list, I got to have it in by the, I think it's the middle of July. So if you can get it to me as soon as possible, that'd be great.
Is Chapel Street still a state maintained road?
Yes, sir.
I think that would be impossible.
And
Top of the list.
Chapel and Ryder is.
That'd absolutely be on top of the list.
What other roads are state maintained besides those two?
Highway 153,
Yeah.
Main
It's just
Street,
paved.
Forest Main Street just got,
Those two were just paved. so-
and then Mount Moriah.
Mount Moriah, Kimball Road, Kimball Loop Road, Main Street if he's hadn't already, Ryder, Rise, Chapel Street. Those are the main corridors.
Kimball Loop would be the second choice.
All the above. Tell the state to do all the above.
Yeah.
We don't try to take, they don't do that.
Keep in mind, they're just asking our opinion, that doesn't mean they'll do what we say.
Well, they can see the need on Chapel and Kimball Loop.
And I have actually heard that that was supposed to be done, actually in conjunction with the railroad things, but we can make that one of our top requests, because I agree that road is in need of some help. I'm going to ask the finance officer, Jose, he's going to talk a little bit about the budget, and then I'm going to end up with my comments.
Okay.
Mayor Board, I just wanted to kind of go over the highlights from the budget meeting last time and the budget that you received tonight for the benefit of the folks that didn't have the opportunity to attend the last meeting or maybe hadn't had a chance to go online and watch it. The big headline of this budget, if you will, is the electrical rates were slashed. When we go into a single rate, we're going down from, like I believe it was 16 rates that we had total before, and the rate that we're adopting is 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is a quarter-cent lower than the lowest tiered bracket of the senior citizens rate that we have now. So everybody will be getting rates lower than the senior citizens rate. For residential service, yes. And in total, that the revenue side on the electrical is being slashed by almost $1 million, $969,000 less is what we're projecting to bring in from electric bills. So that's money that will remain in our citizens' pockets that, had we not made that change, would have been coming to the city. So that's a substantial change. Even though we observed small increases on our cost on both the water and the sewer rates, the city is absorbing those increases without any increases to the residents. On the trash side, we're not going to offer recycling any longer, and our trash bills are going to decrease despite an increase to us of over $20,000 a year. We're going to cut everybody's residential bills $2 a month on the trash side. We're putting over $500,000 into savings this year. On the slide, I've got 564,000. I think it's actually a couple thousand low when I actually look at the budget, but it's well over $500,000 we're committing to fund balance savings. We're putting $350,000 towards additional street paving on top of the 3 streets that we just got paved down on the southwest section of town there that are a whole lot easier to drive down than they were before. It was almost a gravel road there in some cases. We're providing updated gear for the firemen. We're restoring one of the positions at the police department and doing some necessary facility upgrades there, replacing the leaf machine and some outdoor equipment for the street department. We're allocating about $150,000 for sewer repairs and replacing some voltage regulators at the substation. The other item that I wanted to mention is that our tax rate, I know that there was some citizens saying, oh, can we go revenue neutral, can we go revenue neutral? And part of this budget is about equity and finding balance. And historically, Landis has leaned heavily on proceeds from utility sales to subsidize what, in truth, is an artificially low tax rate, or has been an artificially low tax rate. So this budget doesn't move everything that could be moved, and I'm not going to argue that it moves everything that should be moved, but it moves a lot. It moves a lot. And that's one of the ways that we're able to realize the significant rate decreases that we're observing on the electrical side. But our tax rate remains unchanged as proposed at 53 cents per $100 of valuation. And even so, with our nearest neighbor to the north of us having the closest tax rate to us, even with their adjustment going revenue neutral, they're still going to be at 54 cents per $100. So right now they're at 58, so we'll still have the cheapest tax rate in the area. And that's all I have.
I think most folks are aware that Miss Nadine has archives. Did you guys know Miss Nadine has archives? Miss Nadine can find stuff that we can't sometimes. And after the budget hearing last week, she brought me something, and I greatly appreciate you bringing me this because this is a part of history. And I'm just going to read part of this. This is a letter by Mr. J. Fred Collier Jr., who, as you recall, was his family was a big part of the mills, owned the mills for many years. He was elected to the board in 1991. That doesn't seem that long ago, but it's been a while, 1991. In 1992, Catawba College thought enough of Mr. Collier to ask him to come be their president, and he served as their president for quite a few years until he retired. So he had to write a letter of resignation from the board in order to take that post. I'm just going to read an excerpt of this because I thought it tied in pretty well to the whole budget thing, and some of it's a little surprising, but and I'll tell you what that part is. And this is from Mr. J. Fred Collier Jr. When I was elected to the Board of Aldermen in November of 1991, I accepted the responsibility with a great sense of obligation, not only to work diligently on behalf of the town of Landis, but also to be truthful and candid in all that I said and did. Now, I'm going to pause there and say that he writes just exactly like the college president would write, too. He's very well spoken. You might even recall at the first board meeting I indicated that I felt part of my function was to tell people things they don't want to hear. Every institution in our society, whether it be a church, a school, a college, a corporation, or municipal government, or government at any other level, is hearing a lot of news we don't want to hear. A lot of that news has to do with the fact that revenues and income don't always keep up with the demand for services. The news I want to suggest tonight is something I have alluded to in the past, but never quite as directly. If you recall, Mr. George Pless talked at our last meeting about how Landis's infrastructure is beginning to fall apart. We could make major investments in our water plant, and this was before the vote that Mr. Corey has referred to in the past. Our water plant, our power system, our streets, and to the quality and frequency of the services we offer, but not with a 23 cent per $100 ad valorem tax rate. Now that's how low the tax rate was in 1991. Obviously, those that pay taxes in Landis are delighted with this wonderful tax rate. However, it's our utility structure, infrastructure is a problem we can no longer defer. If this low tax rate is merely a way of winning voter loyalty or influencing their votes at election time, then it's a cruel hoax. If this town were to continue operating with this tax rate, then there's no doubt in my mind that services would continue to dwindle and the infrastructure would not only crumble but decay. Therefore, I'm recommending to this board that prior to the budget making process, the board have conversations with its accountants and look at other revenue options, including a tax rate increase and bonded indebtedness. It will take political courage to recommend either or part of these approaches, but to do less would be a dereliction of our duty on our part to our citizens today and the citizens of the future. And then he ends this part by saying, having said that, I realize I have burned all my political bridges. So this is his last statement before he resigned to go to be president of Catawba College. And the rest of this goes on to talk about his resignation and the details associated with that. Now, Ms. Nadine dug this up out of the archives. Thank you again for bringing this. Now, when I read this, I'm not at all making light of any conversation about keeping our tax rate low. I think it's the responsibility of this board, and it's certainly the responsibility of staff to have the tax rate as low as possible, and we still are the lowest in the region, and that is something to brag about. However, I do agree with Mr. Coyer, and that's one reason we presented the budget that we did. Had we taken his advice in 1991, I don't know who was on the board, and this is not meant as a slight towards anybody then, no mayor, no board member. But had we started investing in our sewer system then, we would not have an infiltration rate that is double the acceptable rate today. So he's arguing that we need to make investments in infrastructure. This budget certainly refers to that. I think his prophecy was very accurate. I don't think he realized when he wrote this how accurate it would be. So I just wanted to share this since it's part of the budget consideration. And I certainly wish we could go back to a 23-cent per 100 ad valorem tax rate. I know everybody else wishes we could too, but also want to see our sewers get fixed. So I wanted to share that with you as part of my presentation.
Thank you, Ken. Anything? Nothing.
All right, as many of you know here, those of you who were at the last meeting, I'm going to read a couple things from the minutes of the last meeting because they are now set in stone as we approve them today. At the last meeting, it was talked about, I brought up some things where I had seen some things in a Facebook group where people were saying some like emotional things about getting rid of the overflow room. And at the time, I was speaking off the cuff, hadn't talked to anyone on the staff, hadn't talked to any other board members. At the time, I had assumed that there would be comments available on YouTube for the live stream, as well as comments for the videos posted there afterward, the archived videos. However, that's not the case. There's a lot of would be comments because people were saying that, oh, well, the board's just trying to silence citizens. We're trying to take away their ability to say things in public. That was not the case. I was just stating that the board didn't have some kind of, like, we didn't get together on the side or over at Gary's or across the street saying, hey, we're going to get rid of this overflow room so fewer people can speak, so on and so forth. So in my comments, I had actually said that there would be comments available on the YouTube video. However, that's not the case. It won't be the case going forward. For us to do so, we would have to have someone to moderate the comments, and in doing so, it's just really tough for us if we would have one person looking at those. There's no way to monitor who's in Landis, who's in Pennsylvania, who's in Moscow, Russia. You could have anybody, saying what they want to say, whether it's relevant or not. You could have people using derogatory comments towards other people, directly, indirectly, towards the board members. We don't want anybody, cussing people out, calling them names, talking about everybody's family, anything like that. So we're just not going to have them at all. And so with that slippery slope kind of thing, it's better off to not have it at all, just because of the moderating it. And if the town would moderate it, then it would start turning into okay, well, if somebody posts this or says something about someone else or says something towards anybody, we would delete that comment, kind of how it would be like a Reddit moderator or any kind of forum like that. So for us to do so, we don't want it to look like the town is trying to censor this, because that's clearly what we're not trying to do. We're trying to make it transparent so that people who cannot attend or just simply want to sit and watch can do so at home, listen to the meeting, and and that way there's more room in here for people to come and actually provide comments. So I would like to apologize for having stated in the past that there would be comments. That's all me. It's nothing for the board. It's nothing for the staff. So if anyone has an issue with that, I apologize, and it's all my fault. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
I have nothing. Tommy?
I have mostly good stuff. I got my utility bill today, and I took the liberty to calculate what it would have been if the new rate was in effect today. Unfortunately, it isn't. My bill, I stay at home by myself. I'm at Myrtle Beach half the time, so I've got a cheap power bill. My electric power was $100 and some pennies. Don't look surprised, because everybody says there's a 300 or 400, but mine was $100 and a couple of pennies. I used the kilowatt hours that I bought and applied the new rate of 10 1/2 cents to that. If we were on the new rate, my bill would have been $86. So I'm ready for that. Could you go ahead and make mine retroactive? I know that's not possible. But anyway, I'm going to be quite pleased with the new rate, and I hope to see you doing your own thing when they go into effect. And I suppose it'll be July, if the budget's approved in July, so you would see that. But you're welcome to look at your bill. There's a column right beside the money that says amount used. Take those kilowatt hours, multiply it times 10 1/2 cents. That's 0.105. Multiply it times the kilowatt hours, and you'll see how much money your bill would have been if it had been on the new rate. So that's good news. I heard a comment about regretting that we were doing away with recycling, and I think Roger explained that, but you might need to help me with this. But we found out with the waste management, whoever's doing our garbage pickup, that they're actually not recycling anything. They're dumping it all in the same place. Would you mind elaborating on that a little bit? You met with those people.
Yes, sir. What I was talking about was we got complaints from residents who observed both their trash and the recycling getting put in the same truck. And then I went on to talk about how there's all kinds of documentaries and things, several which I've watched. You can go in there and Google it and look wherever you want. The issue with recycling is almost like a backwards model for manufacturers, wholesale distributors, retailers. It goes the opposite way. So even if your local trash company has the best intentions, they don't have in-house recycling facilities, so they turn around and it goes downstream to larger and larger places that actually do recycling. And with the new restrictions that specifically China has put in place, plastic recycling, which is the main thing that everybody's concerned about, is just turned into a horrific issue. So it's kind of reminiscent of back like in the bad old days when you had mobsters and whatnot that would take nuclear waste and was thrown in a harbor in New York or whatever. The same type of thing is going on. If you look at some of these documentaries, people are paying the premiums. They're willing to incur the cost to recycle, but then the supply chain eventually gets corrupted, and you have you got greedy people basically that they're not recycling it. They're taking it to third world countries and dumping it. In a lot of cases, dumping it and burning it. And it's really interesting to watch if people hadn't taken the time to look into that. I mean, there's mountains like in Malaysia, just huge piles of trash these kids are playing on, and some poor countries in Africa where they're down there burning this stuff wholesale. So the staff's thought was that with that was going on, that we not only were paying more for a false sense of doing what was right, but we're actually making things worse, because I think that waste is a whole lot more responsibly handled in a Rowan County landfill than it is in some poor kid's backyard in Southeast Asia.
Good. Thank you for that. And the bottom line of it is, it's really not doing any good deed by having two cans out there, because it doesn't get recycled anyway. They dump it all in the same place. So I just wanted to clear it up. That's all I have to say.
The only way to lower my power bill is get my wife to quit taking 3 baths a day and start letting me reuse the bath towels instead of washing them every day.
Only wait just a minute, I think. What is your question?
Have you done your due diligence on that, or?
If he wants to clarify something, that's.
Yeah, I was asking, yeah, I mean, are you just getting your information? I'm sorry. Do I need to?
Yes,
Well, this is not our question.
Okay.
If you didn't understand something he said.
No, I understand, but I had a further question I want him to clarify.
There'll be a time to speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Summing up, there's good things happening in Landis now. There's people in charge of things that aren't doing it for their own personal use, and they got the town at heart, and there's good things happening. There's more good things going to happen. I'm really pleased. Thank y'all.
Well, one, I'd like to welcome Rod Crider from the EDC. Thank you again for coming. He's helped us a lot again, helped us with some of the properties that we've done. He's been very faithful. He attends the majority of our meetings. So thanks again for what you're doing. We appreciate it. As far as the budget, of course, we'll be voting on that pretty soon. I want to personally, I've been involved in it. Well, all of it, every board member that's been at every meeting, and been involved in it. But I would like to thank Roger and Kenny and the staff. The staff is basically pretty much everyone that works in the office, and also some of our supervisor that was quick to get the information back. They sent out a message that we need to know what your minimum is, and normally it has taken time. It has taken so long, but just within a matter of days, most all department heads were right on top of it and come back with it, so that enabled them to start working on the budget and get it together to it. So again, all of you, thank you, but especially Roger and Kenny, you've done a terrific job.
Thanks, sir. It definitely was a team effort. All the department heads and supervisors were
Well, everyone, yeah, all our, everyone that, like you told me, everything you asked for, as soon as you asked for it, you got it. I think it's a good budget, and we'll look and see how it goes. As you know, he just said we're 2 and 2 on the cruise ends. We only have 3 left. It was well, it's just about as bad as the other one. The wind wasn't quite as strong, but we're going to keep going. We're going to get a good one in June. I'm real. I hope that you folks are, and I'm real excited about this news. There's a lot of work went into this. We've been working on this for many months. Sometimes you can't talk about something until you see we can do it. And I hope our friends from the press will at least stress what we're talking about the electric rate cut. That's a big deal. We've never been any worse close to that. I'm talking about from some years, many years back up into 20 cents. So I commend our folks for working that out. It took a lot of cutting, and we're going out on faith that everything is close, like they said. About everything we put down has got to fall in place, but I'm sure that it will. Other than thanks again for coming out. Anyone else have anything?
Susan's comment.
Yeah, I know. That's my part. I'm through. The next thing is citizens' comments. If you signed up, they'll call out your name in order. There will be no additions. There'll be no exceptions. If there's any exceptions, I will make them. Okay?
All right, Mr. Mayor, the first name on the list is Ms. Nadine Cherry.
Nadine Cherry, 410 West Garden Street in Landis. The question that I have got is going back to last fall when we had all the bad weather and all the destruction that we had over at the lake. I think this building and some other things that was listed, I think we were trying to get, what was it, about $11 million grant, what was it, FEMA money?
FEMA. FEMA and state.
Okay, FEMA and state, how did that go? I mean, is it a done deal, or is it
I'm gonna
like?
let Brandon is done all of the legwork and is in contact, handles all the FEMA meetings. We go to a lot of them, board members and staff when we can, but if you would, just, let's give her a quick update.
Yes, sir. So we are still in the process. We should be finishing up that process hopefully sometime the middle or end of June. So we're wrapping it up, and we will see once we wrap it up of how much we will get from FEMA, from the federal government, as well from the state.
Has things over there, all the trails and things gotten, like cleared up, or is it still kind of like dangerous to walk over there?
The trails are cleared, however, the berm, or if you want to call it the embankment / levee, is still marked where you cannot walk across there until we can figure something out with FEMA and with the state.
Okay, that's all I got for now.
Okay. Thank you, Nadine.
Mr. Darrell Overcash.
Darrell Overcash, 108 West 5th Street, Landis. My subject would be budget. I know you want to stick to one subject. One question I have on the garbage detail, or the recycle thing, do you know when that's going to end and how we do our cans? Are we going to keep the can for garbage, or will the garbage truck pick it up if it's, once this recycling ends, are they going to come get them?
That's my understanding, is that the vendor will be picking up the recycling bins, after.
Do you know when?
Sometime in July, I presume.
So I'm assuming they'll come out of the truck, dump it, and haul off the...
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
Okay, that'd be good. I was wondering about that, but I wouldn't want to go pick them up and maybe half full or something like that. So
Yeah, you probably get one last load in there.
yeah, I don't mind it. It's a bad situation. But, one thing you didn't mention, Mr. Hosey, on the budget thing, I thought was pretty exciting Thursday night when I heard it. We are where we are. We can't help it. The one thing he mentioned was the bucket truck that got leased. It's been sitting there for 3 years.
I think so, yeah.
If we had the money for that, it's been wasted. That would buy the 3 vehicles that there was a little bit of issues about in here. We all want to do as best we can, cheap as we can, save what we can. I mean, I'd like to see you cut the tax rate 20 cents, cut the power bills half, but that ain't gonna happen. But just saying, I thought that was pretty exciting when Roger talked about that the other day about the fact that if we had the money back for that truck, it would buy the 3 pickups that they want to buy for the departments. And then last thing is, it's exciting to me is that what the budget is. Don't none of these guys live in Landis, but I think they're pulling for us. I really believe that. I think all 4 of them, these 4, Mr. Walker, I know he told us 4. But I think these guys are really pulling for Landis. I really do. And I appreciate what y'all doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell.
Ms. Katie Sells.
Katie Sells, 717 South Main Street. Each of you on this board should be ashamed of yourselves. The town's response to the LGC on May the 6th, 2019, and I'm putting this nicely, was a big bad kiss my foot response. This was an unprofessional response to a professional group of people that are only trying to help this town. But the mayor and the aldermen have let the town down again, and the town continues to be a laughing stock of the state all the way up to Dale Farwell, state treasurer. With that said, I am publicly asking this board to put a hiring freeze on the town until the next board is elected. It's obvious this board cannot make good, sound decisions in the best interest of the town. My second item needs to be brought to your attention. During the last budget workshop, comments were made by this board about employees, friends, family members borrowing/using town equipment or property. This needs to stop. The caterer that was at the cruise-in this past Friday used the town's tents and tables, with the employees putting the tents and tables out for the caterer. That is totally unacceptable. Again, the board shows they cannot make good decisions.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Ms. Meredith Smith.
Meredith Smith, 401 West Hope Street. I would like to know if you asked for the recycle and the trash, did we ask for just trash or did we ask for both?
On the RFP, knowing what we knew as far as the issues that I was talking about where a lot of the recycling was eventually ending up at, the decision was made that we wanted to try to save residents as much money as we could on their monthly utility bills because, I'm sure you, like all the other Landis residents can relate to, that's high. So part of it was we wanted to drop that, but also we weren't getting any value for that if it's not ended up where it should. And on the RFP that came back was just for trash only. I spoke with the lady from Waste Management, who I think may be here, and they came back and said that even though we saw, I think it was a $24,000 increase just to do trash over our existing prices, that it would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of about $120,000 increase had we done trash and recycling.
Not with Waste Management.
She's with Waste Management, and I think, are you talking about
I'm talking
Waste
about
Pro?
Waste Pro, yeah.
Okay, well, per Waste Management, only 3% of their stuff goes overseas. So when you asked for the pricing, did we ask for both, or did we just ask for trash?
So I was in charge of the RFP,
Okay.
and we only asked for trash. Again,
Okay.
as Mr. Hosey just said, we knew what we knew then, and so that's the only reason that we were
But did we
asking.
only go off of that by what Waste Pro says, or did we ask other places what they do? Because per Waste Management, theirs is a little different. So my question is because we were with Waste Pro, did we just ask Waste Pro? So then therefore that's why we got rid of recycling. Because technically you're only saving $2. And I get that $2 is a lot of money, but to a lot of people recycling is a really big deal. And I get what he's saying, I understand that. I'm just saying that for some people, they want to know what all, like, did you do the proper steps? Because if we just asked for trash, then we didn't ask about recycling.
No, we did ask about recycling to Waste Pro, also said something to Waste Management as well when we gave the RFP. Also to the other two that I sent the RFP as well.
Okay.
And they also stated how the recycling was no longer being taken over to China, and to where they were also taking theirs to the landfill.
Okay. And then the other thing, I had it written down, I lost my paper. I don't remember. But, okay, I just really think that maybe in the budget meetings, if we could get that information, that it was asked from other places, that would be helpful for us citizens that have questions about that. Because it's like I know I'm at my 3 minutes, I'll finish this statement and I'll be done. I think that would just help, because then we would know that it was asked from different places and what their response was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, conclude citizens' comments.
Thank everyone for coming tonight. Appreciate it. We won't be going into executive
We
session.
request to go into executive session to discuss the legal matters.
So we are going to adjourn this.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss legal matters and then adjourn the meeting.
I second.
We have a motion, we have a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Well, no, I mean, I looked at it, but I also looked at the paper and I thought it had to do with